Friends, today's first story is from Shajapur district in Madhya Pradesh, and it dates back to 2021. In Shajapur district, there is a police station known as Badonia Police Station. On the night between February 12th and 13th at around 1:30 a.m., the police received information that a 40-year-old farmer and laborer, Mukesh Malviya, had been murdered in Fardkhedi village. When the police arrived at the crime scene, they found Mukesh's body lying on the bed inside his farmhouse. His throat was completely slit, and nearby, his wife, Shyama, was crying loudly. Shyama told the police that she had been in deep sleep and didn't hear anything. She also mentioned that Mukesh was sleeping alone in the inner room and had locked the door from the inside. Meanwhile, she, her two sons, aged 15 and 18, and her nephew were sleeping in the outer room. However, the police found Shyama's statement suspicious. During the investigation, they discovered a crucial clue, a severed finger lying near Mukesh's body. Shockingly, all of Mukesh's fingers were intact, meaning the severed finger likely belonged to the murderer. Upon thoroughly inspecting the house, the police found a window between the inner and outer rooms that had no grill. Bloodstains were found on the window, confirming that the murderers had entered through it, killed Mukesh, and escaped the same way. But this led to a major question. If Mukesh had locked the door from inside, how did the killers enter? This suggested that one of the 4 people sleeping in the outer room had helped the killers get inside. The police were now convinced that the murder could not have happened without inside help. Due to the seriousness of the case, a forensic team was called. They analyzed the bloodstains, the severed finger, and other evidence. Mukesh's body was sent for post-mortem. By morning, when Superintendent of Police Yashpal Singh was informed, he personally visited the crime scene and assessed the situation. He then formed a special team, led by T.I. Mohan Badonia, to conduct a detailed investigation. The investigation revealed that Mukesh Malviya was originally from Ramkrishna Nagar, about 3 kilometers from the crime scene. He worked as a laborer in the fields and lived there with his family for convenience. When the police reached Ramkrishna Nagar and questioned the villagers, a shocking revelation emerged. Mukesh's wife Shyama was having an affair with a local young man named Rahul Malviya. This deepened the police's suspicions, especially since the murder had taken place just a day before Valentine's Day. The police now believed that Mukesh's murder could be linked to his wife's affair. The police detained Rahul Malviya for questioning. Initially, Rahul tried to mislead the police, making excuses and denying involvement. But under intense interrogation, he couldn't keep the truth hidden for long. Finally, Rahul confessed to the crime and revealed everything. He admitted that his friend, Sunil Malviya, was also involved. During the murder, Sunil had held Mukesh down while Rahul slit his throat. However, in the struggle, Mukesh bit Sunil's finger so hard that it got severed and fell on the ground, that same finger the police had found at the crime scene. Mukesh's wife Shyama was also part of the conspiracy. She was arrested as well. When all 3 suspects were interrogated thoroughly, the entire horrifying truth came to light. This brutal murder had occurred in Fardkhedi village under Mohan Badonia police station, but its roots traced back to Ramkrishna Nagar. Mukesh and Rahul's houses were in the same neighborhood in Ramkrishna Nagar. Around 20 years ago, when Shyama married Mukesh and moved to her husband's home, Rahul was just a 6 or 7-year-old boy. He would often wander around the village without clothes. Their families were from the same community and were neighbors, so they frequently visited each other's houses. Because of this closeness, Rahul had free access to Shyama's house. As the years passed, Rahul grew up and started developing new feelings. One afternoon, Rahul went to Shyama's house as usual. Since he had been visiting since childhood, he entered without hesitation. No one was home at that moment, but he heard the sound of water splashing from the courtyard. When he looked in that direction, he saw Shyama bathing in the open courtyard. Rahul stopped in his tracks. Shyama noticed him but didn't react because to her, Rahul was still the same little boy who had played in front of her house. But for Rahul, this moment was different. His heart raced as he realized for the first time that Shyama was not just his neighbor's wife. she was also a woman. At first, Rahul was about to turn away, but then he noticed that Shyama did not object to his presence, so he started looking for an excuse to stay there. He decided to sit there by offering to play with Shyama's 3-year-old son. However, the child was in deep sleep, and Rahul's eyes remained fixed on Shyama. Gradually, an unusual attraction began to develop in Rahul's mind. He started deliberately visiting Shyama's house at times when she was bathing. Sometimes he used the excuse of playing with the child, and other times he found different reasons. Over time, Shyama also became aware of Rahul's habit, but she never stopped him. Perhaps she didn't see anything wrong in it, or maybe she still considered Rahul a child. Rahul, however, had grown into a young man. Before marriage, he had already been in relationships with several girls and had even experienced physical intimacy. Despite all these relationships, only one face constantly occupied his heart and mind: Shyama Bhabhi. Although Rahul had been with many women, the memories of Shyama never left him. Now, merely seeing her from a distance was no longer enough for him. He wanted to make her completely his own. During this time, Shyama's husband, Mukesh, got a job as a laborer on the fields of a wealthy farmer, Jagdish Patidar. Mukesh was also given accommodation in a 2-room house built on the farmland. As a result, Mukesh and Shyama started visiting the village occasionally. Sometimes Mukesh came alone, while other times Shyama would visit the village alone for a few days. One day, Rahul learned that Mukesh had gone to attend a wedding and that Shyama was alone at the farmhouse. Upon hearing this, Rahul immediately found an excuse and headed toward the farm. When he arrived, he saw that Shyama was indeed alone. Without any hesitation, he went straight inside. Shyama smiled upon seeing him, but there was something different in Rahul's eyes. His mind suddenly replayed an old memory from his childhood, the first time he had seen Shyama bathing in the open courtyard. Shyama laughed and asked, "What brings you here all of a sudden?" But Rahul's face was serious. He was no longer content with just watching her from a distance. Now, he wanted everything. Shyama tried to keep the conversation lighthearted with jokes and laughter, but Rahul was determined. He grabbed Shyama's hand and directly confessed his feelings. Shyama tried to reason with him, but Rahul's intentions were firm. He wanted just one night with her. At first, Shyama hesitated and resisted, but Rahul was persistent. Finally, he grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the room. Shyama weakly resisted, but did not hold out for long. Within moments, the door was locked from inside, and an eerie silence filled the surroundings. When Rahul emerged from the room, his face bore a satisfied smile as if he had fulfilled a long-cherished desire. Despite being 10 years younger than her, Shyama, too, seemed happy in his company. Their relationship had now reached a new level. Whenever possible, Shyama would come to the village. If Mukesh was there, Rahul would visit the farm instead. Their secret affair gradually became an open secret. They could no longer imagine being apart. Rahul revealed that when Shyama last visited the village, she had mentioned wanting to spend an entire night together on Valentine's Day, like a honeymoon. Shyama had agreed and assured him that she would come to the village that day. However, at the last moment, she informed Rahul that Mukesh was preventing her from going. "As long as he is here, we can't spend the night together," she said. Hearing this, Rahul was furious. He decided that if Mukesh was the only obstacle between them, it was best to remove him permanently. To execute his plan, Rahul involved his friend Sunil. Under the cover of darkness, they both reached the farmhouse. Rahul had a mobile phone given to him by Shyama. He called her as a signal, and she opened the door. They entered through the window, where Mukesh was fast asleep. Without wasting any time, they killed him and fled under the darkness of the night. Rahul and Shyama believed they would never be caught, but within just 24 hours, the police arrested them. A severed finger uncovered the entire conspiracy. Blinded by her desire for a wedding night, Shyama had orchestrated her own husband's murder, but their crime could not remain hidden for long. Eventually, the police arrested all 3 of them and sent them to jail. Sana wanted to leave quickly, but Sonal was not ready to let her go. She repeatedly told Sana that if she left, she would take her own life. In August 2017, Sana got a government quarter. She felt it was the right time to end this relationship. On August 10th, she left Sonal's house and moved into her new quarter. Sonal was sad, and Sana also felt a little strange. However, she thought it was best to end things as soon as possible. She had no idea that Sonal wouldn't be able to live without her. 4 days after Sana left, on August 14th, Sonal left her house and came straight to Sana's quarter. Crying, she said, "I can't live without you. Please let me stay with you." Sana tried to explain, even got angry, and asked her to go back home, but Sonal was unwilling to leave at any cost. Sana, being in a government job, feared that if Sonal's family filed a false complaint in anger, her job could be at risk. Sonal had already told her that she had left home secretly, and if she returned, she would be beaten badly and never be able to meet Sana again. Meanwhile, Sonal's family found out that she was staying with Sana. They called Sana and firmly asked her to send Sonal back. With great difficulty, Sana convinced Sonal to return home. Sonal left with a heavy heart but returned the very next evening. This time, her brother-in-law personally dropped her off at Sana's place. He said, "She refuses to stay at home without you. It's better for her to stay with you than suffer at home." Saying this, he left Sonal with Sana. Now Sana understood that Sonal truly loved her. When her brother-in-law left, Sana hugged Sonal tightly. Sonal wanted Sana to undergo a gender change because, in their relationship, Sana played the male role. However, the problem was that Sana had a government job and a gender change could affect her career. Despite this, they couldn't imagine separating and decided to try. They went to a reputed hospital in Delhi, where Sana underwent counseling and several necessary tests. Eventually, the doctors declared her fit for gender reassignment surgery. However, news of Sana's surgery somehow reached Sonal's family. On September 14, 2017, Sonal's family filed a complaint at Jhansi's women's police station, accusing Sana of manipulating and taking their daughter away. During questioning, Sonal revealed the truth to the police. She clearly stated that she was living with Sana by choice and wanted to stay with her in the future. Since both were adults, the police found no grounds for action and sent Sonal back with Sana. They were happy and dreamed of a future together. Sana spent lakhs of rupees on her gender reassignment surgery, becoming a man and changing her name to Sohail. However, post-surgery recovery took time, and Sohail mostly stayed at home. Meanwhile, Sonal started going to the office daily. Initially, everything seemed fine, but gradually their daily routines changed. Earlier, Sonal cared for every little thing about Sohail, but after returning from the office, she often seemed irritable. Sohail felt that Sonal was no longer the same. 2 years passed. In 2022, a front office job opened at a private hospital in Jhansi. Sohail helped Sonal get the job, and both started working. Initially, everything was fine, but after a few months, Sohail noticed strange changes in Sonal's behavior. Earlier, Sonal took care of everything, but now she became careless. Since Sohail was still recovering from surgery, Sonal managed most of the household work. However, she started avoiding responsibilities. The situation worsened when Sonal began night shifts at the hospital. Sohail repeatedly asked her to avoid late-night work, but she ignored him and started coming home late. Sohail felt uneasy and suspected that someone else had entered Sonal's life. He started keeping an eye on her. One night, while they were sleeping, he heard Sonal sobbing. She was talking to someone in a low voice with her phone hidden under the pillow. Sohail immediately asked, "Why are you crying?" Sonal removed the phone from her ear and replied, "Nothing, just missing my family." This shocked Sohail. Why would she suddenly miss her family at 11 p.m. after so many years, especially when she frequently spoke with her sister and father? He glanced at her phone screen, which was still on a call. It showed a group call with 3 names, Sonal, Twinkle, and Gyan. Sohail asked, "Who are Twinkle and Gyan?" Sonal hesitated before saying, "Twinkle is like my sister, and Gyan is our hospital administrator." Doubts flooded Sohail's mind, but he stayed calm and said, "Sleep now. We'll talk about this in the morning." The next morning, Sohail tried to talk to Sonal and started keeping a closer watch. Whenever he called her, her number was often busy. Household responsibilities kept increasing, but Sonal started leaving for the hospital earlier than usual. Gradually, her behavior changed even more. On May 25, 2022, Sohail finally confronted her and said, "Quit this job. I'll get you a better position at another hospital. There are many good hospitals in Jhansi." Sonal bluntly replied, "Sanakan, I can leave you, but I won't leave that hospital." Hearing this, Sohail felt like the ground had slipped from under his feet. He had done everything for her, and now she was ready to leave him for someone else. He tried convincing her, but she started making excuses. When the argument escalated, Sonal threatened to falsely accuse him of sexual harassment. Their fights became frequent. On May 27, 2022, Sonal declared, "I will leave this house but not my new friend." Sohail was devastated. The girl for whom he had changed his entire identity was now leaving him. Holding back his emotions, he calmly said, "If you want to leave, write a statement that you're leaving by your own will." Sonal quietly wrote on a piece of paper that she was leaving Sohail voluntarily and left all her belongings behind. Sohail stood in silence, watching the woman he had trusted walk away without looking back. Even after Sonal left, Sohail went to her hospital to convince her one last time. He pleaded, "Come home, we can fix everything." After some hesitation, Sonal held his hand and agreed. That night they ate dinner together, and Sohail hoped things would return to normal. However, he didn't realize Sonal had other plans. On the morning of May 28th, Sonal packed a small bag and prepared to leave. Sohail asked, "Where are you going with the bag?" Sonal smiled and said, "I'll be back by 5 p.m., don't worry." But she never returned. Sohail's calls went unanswered. He contacted her sister, who shockingly replied, "Sonal has nothing to do with you anymore. Stop calling." A few minutes later, Sonal herself called and warned, "Don't call me again." Then she disconnected the call. On May 30th, 2022, Sonal and her family accused Sohail of rape, kidnapping, and harassment. The police summoned him. During interrogation, he presented evidence proving Sonal's claims were false. Eventually, the police found the accusations baseless and released him. This wasn't just a story of love and betrayal. It was about false accusations, blackmail, and emotional exploitation.